Hi, I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville. With me in this week's episode of Kibbitzing with Kagan is my friend and longtime Senator George Edwards. Senator Edwards has represented District 1 for a very long time. So Senator George, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a long time, 24 years in the House, 16th year in the Senate. So
Indeed, that's right. So a lot
of traveling.
Changed. Yes, we have a lot to talk about. So you and I got to serve together in the House as well as in the Senate. Let's start with Garrett County. There are a lot of folks who are watching who may not have really spent a lot of time out there, or maybe have never been there before. So why don't you start by bragging about your district? What's special about it?
I'll brag. I'm prejudiced, like most people are, where they're from.
Sure.
We're in Mountain, Maryland. Further, I live in Garrett. I represent District 1, which is all of Garrett, all of Allegheny, and western part of Washington County. Geographical senatorial district in the state, like 100-some miles from one end to the other. In Maryland, they say it's a small state. I live in a little town called Grantsville, which is 184 miles from my house to here. So I get to Hagerstown, I'm halfway. Just to give people an idea. It's the most rural county in the state. It's basically, I say it's the largest county in the state. Frederick will argue that by square miles, but I always say if you flatten us out, we're bigger than you are. We have a lot of things in Garrett County you can't find anywhere else in Maryland. We have the Continental Divide runs through Garrett County. So water on the west side of that Continental Divide goes to the Gulf of Mexico, doesn't go to the Chesapeake Bay. A lot of people don't know that. They think all the water in the state goes to the bay, which it doesn't. We have the highest mountain. We have the only rivers that flow north. We have the largest lake in the state. We have the only alpine skiing in the state. We have the most state land known in Garrett County in the state. And in the whole district, when you throw Allegheny in it, those two together make up about half of what the state owns. We have a lot of minerals that no other parts of the state have, or especially don't have very much of. So timbering, coal mining are a very big part of our economy, which in both Allegheny and Garrett, you can't find coal anywhere else in the state. And coal still is being used, even though it's being phased out. A lot of people don't know you can get hundreds of products out of coal. I have a picture of a tree somewhere back in my file back home that shows all these branches of what can be made from coal, medicines, cosmetics, all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a demand for that even into the future. But we have the best metallurgical coal in the world. Metallurgical coal is used to make steel. So our largest deep mine now produces that coal, and a lot of it goes overseas, but a lot of it goes to U.S. Steel in Pittsburgh. So it's still a big part of our economy. We have the fewest number of people per square mile. So if you want to get out in the middle, like I say, of nowhere, you can get there in a couple minutes and just enjoy the scenery and relaxation and no noise, or very little noise. And
tourism is a big deal, right? Deep Creek Lake and
Deep Creek Lake's the opposite of Ocean City. They have, and we have the lake. We don't have as many, because it's in big commercial kinds of activities, but it's really grown over the last couple of years. And if you haven't been there for a while, you'd be surprised at what's there. It wasn't there even 10 years ago, which is good because it's a big part of our economy. And more people now are finding us. More and more people, because of COVID, a lot of people in homes up there, and you have internet now. Most places around the lake are connected to internet. So a lot of people are using their second homes to do business and work. And a lot of them actually making that their permanent home now.
Yes, I've got some friends who are doing that. Yeah.
We appreciate that because our county, Garrett County, Allegheny County, are two of the counties that lost people in this census. Didn't go to the four poorest counties in the state of Maryland. Even with all this activity we're talking about, we're still at the bottom rung in most everything you compute for poverty or economic activity wise. Get out of that, and with the help of you on some bills we're trying to get through this year, We think that'll help us move forward. We got plenty of room to grow and still not be crowded.
Mhm.
Gate, of course, helped out a lot, and we're working on a project, a 219 project, which you may get into later projects, but which is will be a 4-lane highway into Pennsylvania on the way up past Evansburg. I don't know if you know where that is or not.
I do, and a friend of mine is actually working with the Pennsylvania congressional delegation.
Oh, that's right.
From
That's right.
that. Yes, we've talked about that.
Yeah. I remember
let's-
that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's pivot.
Maryland's work in Pennsylvania. We just finished about a mile and a half. We're not finishing it to the line until we figure out where we're going to connect. Once we do that, we've joined together on doing environmental studies and all that. So we hope that comes to fruition before too long. And we're hopeful
George,
because of federal funding, we can get this done within 10 years, maybe.
All right. So let's pivot because you have such an interesting background. You grew up in Garrett County and you have seen changes over the decades. But let's start with your football background. So you played for the Baltimore Colts. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, I played a little bit of football. Basically started, they didn't have Pee Wee football or youth league football when I was growing up. That's a long time ago.
Yes.
But in high school, I basically played quarterback in high school and outside linebacker. And I went to Fairmont State College, which is now Fairmont State University, which is in West Virginia. People might know it's 20 miles south of Morgantown, where the University of West Virginia is.
And you were cum laude. You did well there.
Pardon me?
You were an honor student over there. You did well.
Yes. I graduated cum laude.
Cum laude. Yeah.
Put a lot of study in, and they converted me to running back, and I played linebacker to start. I was the only freshman to start that year, but at the end of the year, we had about 8 of us starting. I started linebacker and did a little bit of running back. Next year, did way more running back and linebacker, and we won the national championship. And back then, there was only like 2 divisions, the little guys and the big guys. The NAI only had 1 division of that. Now they got 3. They got a whole bunch of other divisions, but we won the national championship in 1967. We played Eastern Washington State, and I scored the winning touchdown.
Look at you. That's cool.
Then I made All-American there, and I got drafted by the Baltimore Colts. I played in 5 exhibition games. I got down to the last cut. I didn't make it. Then I got called the next 2 years by the Redskins, but being out of football for a year, I didn't go because we had some family businesses, and I felt obligation because my plans were, when I graduated from college, we had a business. My father, we had a car business. I was going to come back and work in the family business. Well, he passed away when I was a freshman.
Sorry.
The little thought process. So
yeah.
I tried running it, and we didn't have a lot of room to expand. Tried to expand, to buy some land so we could do some things. Couldn't do that. So I got into a bunch of other stuff, and so that changed my
trajectory. Yeah. So then you to be a teacher. So why don't you talk about that? How many years did you teach? I
taught for 3.5 years. I taught junior and senior high school. Back then you had 7 through 12 in our area. I taught Maryland geography, history, and they threw in a business math class, which I knew very little about. Okay. So I had some help from some other teachers on that. Enjoyed the kids. Didn't really enjoy some of the baloney that goes along with being in that profession. I ran for commissioner, got elected commissioner.
So before you go there, what made you wanted to run for office?
Pardon me?
What made you decide you wanted to run for office?
Well, 2 basic things. I love where I live.
Yes.
I do what I could to help out my area because all young people, well, not all of them, but a high majority of young people had to leave the area because of economics, who would have stayed there but couldn't. I was fortunate because we had a business that I could stay there. And I like working with people. And that's still kind of where I'm at. I'm trying, as you know, I'm kind of the loudmouth for rural parts of the state, and I'm trying to do as much as I can to get things in my neck of the woods to help out, mainly to provide our citizens the opportunity to make a better living or make more money in their vocation, but also mainly to keep our young people there.
Yeah.
The way to college gives them to come back.
Right. So you were Garrett County Commissioner, and then 1982, you were elected to the House of Delegates and served there through the election of 2006. And then 2007, you shifted to the Senate and are serving through this year. And you've announced that you are planning to retire. So talk about, gosh, I don't even know where to start. Talk about what it's been like to represent Western Maryland in Annapolis.
Well, let me back. I started out on the town council because that was close, you know, in the town. I got elected to that.
In Grantsville?
Grantsville.
Yep.
2 years, I ran for commissioner, got elected commissioner of Garrett County. Then I ran for House of Delegates and got defeated by 14 votes. So I was out for 2 years, I ran for council again, got elected, then I ran for delegate and won. Well, yeah, I did win then. I lost the first time, as I said, by 14 votes. I won ever since. And when I was in the House, I was there for 24 years. Last 3 years, I was a minority leader.
Right. And
then I moved to the Senate, where I'm the senior or ranking Republican, whatever term you want to put on that. It takes a while. You got to make connections here. You got to make friends. You know, when I tell people when I first got elected, I can count. It was 1 vote out of 188, 141 in the House, 47 in the Senate. I said I need to make friends. Plus, being part of the minority party in the state, I got to make some friends here on the other side of the aisle, which I think over the years I've done a pretty good job of that.
You have done that.
And
George Edwards.
And so that's helped a lot. I mean, I've got a fair amount accomplished because of that fact. A lot of friends on the other side, and they've helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
It's an experience. And, you know, it's actually, you can do kind of more as a commissioner because you only got 2 other people. There's 3 commissioners. So if you get one person to go with you, you can get it done. You can do it quicker. Now, a lot of the bigger things you can't do. It's got to go through the legislature. And as you well know, it takes you a while sometimes to get that accomplished. So you got to keep working on it. I remember when I was in the House, I was trying to get some money to do the Glendale Bridge over Deep Creek Lake. I'm not sure if you may know where that is, but it's one of the, there's only 2 bridges, the 219 Bridge and Glendale Bridge. So trying to get some money to help them out to pay for it. So for about 3 years in a row, I put in bond bills to get a certain amount of money. So I don't know if you remember Senator Cade.
Of course. We share.
So I put it in maybe the 4th year. I don't know. So he finally came to me and said, "How much money do you want?" I said, he said, "Okay, we'll give it to you and quit putting the bill in." So I got, I think, about $1 million something, half of that. I think the whole cost was $1.2 million maybe.
Yeah.
I sometimes keep working on it, but
so you have been on the Appropriations Committee in the House and on the Budget and Taxation Committee in the Senate, always focused on the numbers and the budgets and stuff. Tell me what you like best about that, and what's the downside of not on policy, but only working on budget issues?
Well, the downside, sometimes it gets boring. Look at all those numbers, but when I first came to the Senate, I was actually on finance because President Miller said, he said, "I know you want on B&T because you were an appropriate." And he said, "But I can't, you know, we work more by seniority already, so I can't do it." He said, "But something changes, I'll put you there." So then the next year they increased B&T from 11 to 13. So they put 1 Democrat and 1 Republican on. I happen to be the Republican, been on there now for 15 years. The good part about it is working to try to get projects, because you're dealing with these monies, and capital projects are very important in different parts of the state, as you well know. So you can get a lot more accomplished by being on that committee and getting those kind of things. I mean, it's part of economic development too, because you have to hire people to build these projects that you're talking about.
Right.
But it also, you serve on a committee that deals mainly with policy, but we do some of that through the budget process. I mean, you know, sometimes dictates policy or vice versa too. But so over the years, you get to learn more and more about the budget and all these acronyms that go along with it and how it's done. And overall, I've enjoyed it. Like I said, the biggest downer sometimes it gets monotonous, or looking at all those numbers and trying to keep them all in your head. And you heard me say, Florida, our chairman, he's got a calculator in his head. He can keep all that there.
That's amazing. So your son, Paul, has followed in your footsteps a bit. You've got 2 kids and he's a commissioner. Talk about your family and how that has worked. You're really far away when you're in Annapolis for 3 months a year. So how have
Well,
you
yeah,
been able to keep your family connected? And
you have to have a supporting family, which
yeah,
will tell you I've had a supporting family over all these years.
how many years have you and Linda been married?
It'll be 55 years in June.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
People asking me, how have you all stayed together for that long? I said, well, take 40 times 90.
Yes.
That's the other time. I said it adds up to about 10 years. I said, so I've been from home, you
Yeah.
know, 10 years or more. So that's probably one of the reasons that we still have stuck together over these years.
That's pretty funny.
We had a business and she basically ran it. And, you know, I'm down here in the winter. So you had
Right.
this stuff. She had to plow the parking lot, make sure people got to work. If they didn't get to work, she had to do it.
Yeah.
And my kids have a daughter and a son, and they both were very active in school and extracurriculars, especially that time in basketball. So every once in a while, or quite a few times, if they had a game like on Tuesday night, I'd leave here, go home, watch a ball game, and get up early next morning and come back.
Oh my God. Okay.
So, but I still missed a lot, and
Yeah.
that's one thing about being the distance I am from Annapolis. But
Yep.
I have a son and a daughter, have 8 grandchildren. My son and his wife just had twins in April.
Nice.
He's got 4 and under, so that's going to keep him busy.
Dang.
But you asked about him. He started out in teaching. He became vice principal. Now he's supervisor of secondary education in Garrett County. He's Garrett County Commissioner running for his 3rd term. He's chairman of the board, been chairman of the board for the first 2 terms.
Mhm.
The mayor of Grantsville for a good number of years, started out in the council, ran for mayor, got elected. My daughter's, I guess I'd call it an expert up at the Mount Storm Power Plant right across the border in West Virginia, although she lives in Maryland.
Mm.
And she's, I call it the environmental compliance coordinator there. And she's now kind of in charge of 2 of their plants. And she's one of the hierarchy, let's put it that way.
Nice.
So opinion power. So she has 2 kids. So I have 2 grandsons and 6 granddaughters. And they're active in a bunch of things. So that's one thing when I'm out of not running again, I'll put more time in with them.
Yeah.
And they're active in a lot of functions, which I'm glad to see.
So let's talk about what made you decide that this was the time to retire, not seek reelection.
Well, that's kind of a good question. I have mixed feelings about it, actually. But each day we get a little closer to that number you have standing there behind you.
That's right. 13 days until adjournment.
I'm to the point now, say I'm ready. I'm fine with it. It's just the fact that 40 years of running up and down the road is a lot of time. A lot of time from home. Like I said, I have 8 grandchildren. I missed a lot with my kids, so I want to try to make up some of that with grandkids. And, you know, everything comes to an end at some point in time. So I thought, well, if it didn't this time, my health stayed good and I ran again,
Yeah.
it'd be the next time. So I said, you know, let's just make a decision. I think my wife's fine with it. She said all along, though, before that, she really didn't kind of want me to run again. But then when I got close, she said, whatever you want to do, I'll leave it up to
Yeah. All right.
you. So once I made the decision, it's hard to kind of go back from that decision, although I feel great about it. That a lot of people come up to me and want to know if they can change my mind. So you got, can we convince you to stay? You know, it makes you feel pretty good.
Right. What is some advice you would give to your successor? And do you plan to endorse as to who should follow in your footsteps or try to follow?
I don't. I'm not coming out with a public thing, but
It'll be just us, George. Just whisper here.
People ask me on the side, I tell them what I think or what I feel. So I've been doing a little bit of that, but I'm not taking any ads out in the paper and say support so and so.
Yeah.
But I tell them what I tell everybody else. I mean, I'm rather blunt. I speak to young people quite often, as I'm sure you do.
Yep.
I get on them about voting, and I tell them, if you don't vote, keep your mouth shut, because that's one thing a lot of people died for, right?
Mhm.
One of the freedoms we have, and you ought to use it. It only takes you a couple minutes to do it, whether
Right.
you do it by mail in or go to the poll. And I will tell them that, and I just tell people, and I tell them too, I say, just be yourself. Don't try to be something you're not, because that catches up with you real quick. Be honest with people. Down here, you know, or I would hope you would agree with me, honesty is a big thing down here. Because when you fly off that track somewhere, even if it's just one time, that sticks with you, and your colleagues know that, and they, you know, then they kind of turn off on people. But just be yourself, be honest, work hard, and get a lot done.
Yeah. I always tell, I was just talking to my staff today, your word is your bond.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. Especially in this circus down here. Well,
yeah, that's true. So George, you are, in my opinion, a thoughtful conservative Republican. Talk about the Republican Party and the changes it has been through over the last 40 years. It's changed a lot. And how is that for you?
Well, you're right. I consider myself a moderate conservative. I'm definitely to the conservative side, but I try to keep an open mind on stuff, and I try to look at issues, how they affect the people that I represent. Both parties have changed over the years. You know, it used to be, you had, when I first got down here, you had quite a few conservative Democrats.
Mhm.
They've been moved out by conservative Republicans in those districts. The Democrat side's going more to the left. The Republican side's going a little more to the right. You just would hope that people would look at each issue as an issue, and not, well, Democrats support it or the Republicans support it, to the, you know, whatever. If you're in the other party, I'm supporting it because they do. But it sometimes gets frustrating. I know a lot of it's done by people to try to get their point across to their constituents, that they're really fighting for them. If you remember, was 2 years ago when Republicans got up and walked off the floor on an issue, I forget what it was. I wasn't made aware they were going to do that, so I just stayed there along about 4 or 5 other of my Republican colleagues, because I didn't, you know, I didn't think we needed to do that. But some people, that's a way to catch people's attention and whatever. And you find that you're getting more and more into that, because a lot of it has to do with how the country's going and what's going on in DC and how that's all split apart. But if everybody just work together and look at the issue as an issue, and sometimes, you know, it's like I tell people, go back to what I tell people. So we have a representative democracy, not a true democracy, representative democracy. And sometimes you got to compromise to get what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As long as you don't compromise your principles, you're okay. If you compromise your principles, you might as well hang it up, in my opinion. So, you know, I've found over the years, you can sit down and talk to colleagues and work things out. Maybe not totally like you would like it, but if you get a chunk of what you want, which is better than not getting any chunk.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I agree. That's really well said. Before we, I've got 2 more questions before the fast 5. But before I do that, Donald Trump fan, talk to me about before, during, and after his tenure as president of the United States. Like him, love him, not so much. What do you like or not like so much about Trump?
Well, when he first ran, there's a whole bunch of Republicans running. He wasn't my first choice, but when he threw, fine. I like a lot of his policy. I think he needs to not tweet very much, and he needs to not call people names. Take those 2 things out of it, he'd be, I think, a lot better off with the general public and more respected by the general public.
Yeah.
You know, he's talking now, well, I don't know, but the way he's acting, I can almost assure he's going to run again, which I actually like DeSantis of Florida. He's I think an up and coming Republican. I think will do a great job. But because I know you're in a different party than I am, I do think some of the leadership in the Democrats are going too far left. So therefore, I would probably, I will support the Republican, whether that's Donald Trump or DeSantis or whoever it might be. Just because of the policy issues, which tend to lean more conservative like I do on most issues.
Sure. All right. So on the last day of, on the last day of session each year, you give the snow report. Why don't you talk about what that is? And if you want to give a sneak peek here, we can keep it secret until next week when this airs.
Well, when I was in the house, I always had a lot of people come up and asked about how much snow do you get almost every day, and it's not. So one of the things rang in my head. I said, well, you know, I come up with something. So we call the last day of the session in the morning, Kaiser's Ridge State Highway Department, which is the official snow calculators. And so I come up with this. The last day of the session, we'll call, I'll get the number to get up on the floor and say, this is snow report from high atop Kaiser's Ridge in Garrett County. All right. I'm sure some people don't give a rat's butt, but most people.
I totally disagree. I think we're astonished by the amount of snow you get out in District 1.
Well, I think the other thing it shows is the state of Maryland actually is American miniature, and there's a lot of difference between one end to the other and what's in between those one end to the other.
Yeah.
And that kind of shows some of that distinction or difference. And I will do it again this year.
Yes.
I'm going to tweak it a little bit, but I'm not going to give you any other than I can tell you the last 2 weekends up home have been winter. I mean, we got like 6+ inches this weekend, and the weekend before that, higher elevations got probably about the same thing, and blowing and snowing, and I mean, it was cold. So there's a big difference, which people don't understand. That's why I bring some of these things out. The record we had was, I think, 248 inches or something like that.
Amazing. Amazing. So give a
264 inches of snow is a record.
Wow. That's amazing. 20 feet.
That's a lot of snow.
That's a lot of snow. So just do a sneak peek of what you, since you won't give us a sneak peek at the snow report, what's next for George Edwards? Briefly, tell me 3 things that you're going to do once we adjourn, once you're done.
I'm going to relax a little bit, number 1.
Yeah.
2, I might, depends who gets elected in certain positions. I might be able to do some things there. I said I've tried to find something at least 2 or 3 days a week, or Linda will probably kick me out of the house.
There you go. I love that. Okay. You'll have to let us know.
I'm hoping to find something, and again, depending on who wins certain elections, I may be able to help certain people out.
I love that. All right. So Senator George Edwards, fast 5 quick questions to let folks know a different side of you, and 5 quick answers. So question number 1, who's your favorite football team? What's your favorite football team now?
The Ravens.
All right. Question 2, what was your favorite subject in school when you were growing up?
Sports. Is that a subject? Sports?
Sure.
Or his history, I guess, probably.
History. All right. What is one food you absolutely won't eat?
You know, I don't know that there's anything. You know, I was in the Army, and you ate about everything you got. And so I eat about everything. I mean, there's some I might like less than others, but I would at least eat something if they put it in front of me. Let's put it that way. Good
attitude. Question 4, what are you most looking forward to when you are no longer holding public office?
Yeah, probably spending some more time with my grandchildren and even my children, even though they're growing up now, and going to more local functions that I miss when I'm down here, that I'll be able to do those things.
Great.
I like to go to a lot of high school athletic functions and stuff like that.
Nice. And the last question, the one that I ask everyone, Senator George Edwards, what is your hidden secret superpower? What is a skill or talent that you have, something you're really good at that most folks can't do?
That is a tough question to answer. When I was younger, I was pretty good at sports and athletics. So, you know, and all, well, I say all in basketball, baseball, football, which a lot of people don't, they just align me with football, but I'm pretty good at stuff. That'd probably, I guess, what I would say, something along that line.
Okay,
And I'm just a nice, easygoing guy.
there you go. I like that. That's a good answer. And that's totally true. Well, Senator Edwards, it has really been a pleasure to be able to serve with you in the House and in the Senate. And I really am grateful for your taking the time to chat with me today. Wishing you the best. And
My pleasure. Thanks for asking me to get out to Garrett County. Give me a holler.
You got a deal. I will do that.
Okay.
See
All right.
you.
Thank you. Take
Bye.
care. Yep.